Hello, my lovelies. It is time for my September wrap-up vlog, so stay tuned. So it is currently September 3rd, and I've already completed 2 books. So the first book that I completed was one that Marty and I were buddy reading, and that was A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabah Tahir. This was the, I think, 4th and final book in the Ember and the Ashes series. And I feel like I lost momentum with this series. I can't say that there was anything really wrong with it. I think my interest started waning. Marty ended up giving this 4 stars. I'm going to give it personally 3.5 stars just because I did enjoy it, but I wasn't like, I'm obsessed. I love this. I can't really tell you too much about this one because it is the last one in the series, but the first one follows mostly Laya, and she is trying to rescue her brother from, he's being held captive. And the other main character, Elias, he is the son of the commandant of this military college, and he really just does not want to be there and doesn't believe in the things they believe, and he wants to escape. And then Laya ends up sort of like a slave labor for the commandant in her pursuit of trying to save her brother. And there's a whole lot more to that story and the series, but I think that's really all I can tell you. So I finished that on the 1st, and then on the 2nd, I finished Voices. I started and finished Voices by David Elliott. This is told in mostly poetry, but though there are things from her actual trial, but this is the final hours of Joan of Arc, and I kind of went into this thinking it was going to be told with a little bit of a humor, because I know that's how his other book that I've read was. That was done in the same kind of format, though this one obviously did not. It was much more serious because it was a more serious matter. Joan of Arc being burned at the stake and trying to free France from the British, and I enjoyed it a lot. I can't say I loved it as much as I loved Bull by David Elliott, but I will give this one 3.5 stars. So it is Friday, September 6th, and a couple of days ago I finished Confess by Colleen Hoover. I'm going to give that book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It follows this girl who, it starts out with, she's 15 years old, and her boyfriend, her love, he's dying. He's got cancer or something, and they're having to say their goodbyes, and it's really it's a super sad start to the book. And then it's 5 years later in the first chapter. It's 5 years later, and she's at a lawyer's office, and it's going to cost a lot of money, and she doesn't know how she's going to get this money. And her job, she works at a hair salon, and she's on her way home from this lawyer's office, and she passes by this art studio called Confess, and the windows are completely blocked off, and in the windows are all these different confessions, and she sees a sign that's help wanted, and while she's standing there, they change out the sign, and it's help desperately needed. And so she knocks on the door, and the guy opens it, and he needs somebody to work that night for a showing of his art, and he's willing to pay her $200 for 2 hours. And they immediately have this connection just all of a sudden, and it's a feeling that she hasn't felt in a really long time. And his art is incredible, and what he does is people anonymously leave confessions. They just drop them in a box, and then he takes these confessions, or some of the confessions, and he turns them into art, and it's really, really cool. I can't really tell you too much more about the book without spoilers, but one thing I will say is, before the book even starts, before the prologue, before it says part 1, anything, where there's a little thank you at the front of the book. It actually says that all the confessions in the book are real confessions anonymously donated by readers. And I thought that was really, really interesting. And then when you get to the very first confession that's said, I'm like, holy cow, somebody submitted that. There's some heavy, heavy, heavy confessions in there. There's also light and fluffy and cute confessions, but there's some doozies in there. And that first one was just like, whoa. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm giving it 4 stars. So it is Friday, September 13th, and I have completed, I guess you could say, 4 more books. But I read 3, and I started to read 1 and DNF'd it. So the one that I started and DNF'd, I got about 10% of the way through the book, and it just was not a book for me. I don't think I'm going to rate this one just because I didn't go through that much of the book, and I am definitely not the intended audience. It was Mouse Heart by, I don't remember the author's name, but this is a kid, I think it's like lower middle grade, and it was pretty much just like these different mice and living in, I think it was New York City, and like this, dealing with, living underground, or, the cats and different things like that. And I really wasn't that interested. And so I DNF'd that. And then I started The Vault of Dreamers. That's by Karag M. O'Brien. I don't know if I'm saying that name right. So I actually finished that, and The Rule of Mirrors, and The Keep of Ages. That's the whole series, or trilogy. It's about, let's see, I can tell you about the first book. I can't really tell you about the other 2. But the first book is, you have this elite school for very smart, artistic children and like teenagers. And they compete for a spot. The school accepts like 100 students, and then after like the first 2 weeks, they take half of them away, and only the top 50 get to stay for the remainder of the time. And the way that their rating is determined is because not only is it a school, but it is also like a reality TV show. So the students all have fan base, like fans of them, and companies pay ads and all of this other stuff. And these students will actually get the money from their stuff when they finish school. And so they'll have a nice little chunk of money. But they're like, their ranking is based on their popularity. So the top 50 most popular of the students get to stay. And our main character, at the start of the book, she's like 97 in the rankings. And it's the day before everybody, the 50 are being cut. And she's just like, okay, this is probably my last night here. And, so the way this show works is it runs live for 12 hours. And then all the students are required to sleep for 12 hours. They determine that that is the appropriate amount of sleep that's needed for their level of creativity and yada, yada, yada. And so they're given a sleeping pill that will keep them asleep for these 12 hours. So the first 12 hours of the day is streamed live. The second 12 hours of the day is just replaying the first 12 hours. Anyway, so our main character, she's like, yeah, this is probably my last night here. And I don't want to sleep. I want to stay up, and I want to experience this place at night. And so she like hides the fact that she doesn't actually take her pill. And she's up and she's exploring, but then she discovers some things that are off. And she's like, something doesn't seem right. And at the same time, she's like, I really want to stay. I really don't want to go. And so the next day, she does some things and gets herself where she is up there and doesn't get cut. But she continues to do this staying up thing and not sleeping like when everybody else is going to sleep. And she's learning more and more sinister things are going on. And some of the students are being taken while they're sleeping, and she wants to know what's happening to them, and has something happen to her. And she does have like a track mark on her arm and stuff, so she knows that something has happened. And she doesn't know what, and she's like, I'm going to find out what this is. I enjoyed it a lot. I gave the first book I can't remember if it was either a 3.5 or a 3.75, and then I gave the next two 4 stars. Definitely enjoyed the series. So it is Saturday, September 14th, and I've already completed 2 more books. So yesterday I finished The Shadow Burning by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is book 2 in the Origin series. The Origin series is a spinoff of the Lux series. The Lux series is about these Luxan aliens, and they're living on Earth with the humans, but they're kind of like undercover, and then all of it comes out. And in Origins, so an origin is created by a Luxan and a mutated human having a child. And that's where our series that I'm reading now is. So in the Origin series, our main character, she is Evie Dasher as far as she knows. But turns out that's not who she actually is, and she was somebody else before, but her memory was kind of wiped out until she runs into a boy named Luke, who is an Origin, and he had promised to stay away until she found him. And now that she's come back to him, he's going to be back in her life because he was part of her life before her memories were wiped. And that's a little bit about book 1. I can't tell you too much other than that because of spoilers, but I gave book 2 a 4 stars. After that, I started and finished Matilda by Roald Dahl, and I have to give that one 5 stars. It's such a fantastic read, and I figure most people know what Matilda's about, but just in case you don't, it's about a very precocious 4 or 5-year-old girl named Matilda who is incredibly smart, and her parents are not, and they're also not very caring, and her dad's a bit of a crook, and they'd be happy to just not have her anymore. And she goes to school at this place where her teacher is super sweet. Her name's Mrs. Honey, and the headmistress is very mean. It's Trunchbull, and she like throws kids around by their hair kind of person. And Matilda, she has a way of making those adults that are mean and do the wrong thing to somebody that's smaller and weaker to them, like these little children. She has a way of punishing them that is well-deserved and quite hilarious. And I enjoyed it a lot, and I have to give it 5 stars. So it is Sunday, September 15th, and I've completed 1 more book. I finished How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying by Django Wexler. And I listened to the audiobook on Audible. And I'm going to give this one 4 stars. It was so much fun. I very much enjoyed it. I would also say if you're fans of like D&D kind of things, I think that you would enjoy this as well. So this follows a princess, a human princess, essentially. And from the sounds of it, it sounds like she kind of came from our time in our world, and because she refers to certain movies and having a cell phone and all this stuff. But she found herself in this magical world where she is, she's a princess and she's supposed to save the kingdom. And she's stuck in this awful time loop where she keeps finding herself murdered or killed one way or another. Anytime she dies, she resets back to the beginning. And at the beginning of the book, she is currently captured and being tortured, and that is the last thing she wants, is to be captured, because she's like, it's one thing to be killed, but if they capture you, they're going to torture you, and this could go on for who knows how long. And so she would much rather just die and reset. And for 1,000 years now, it seems, she has been doing this over and over again. Sometimes she gets really far, other times she doesn't. And she's sick and tired of trying to save this kingdom. And she's like, screw it. If you can't beat them, join them. I'm going to become a Dark Lord. And so when she resets, the wizard that's there to help her, she pretty much bashes his head in and takes what he has. And she sets forth on her mission to become a Dark Lord. Now, granted, she dies many times trying to become a Dark Lord, but she keeps pushing through and using those as sort of like learning ways to like get there. And it's a lot of fun. Also, side note, our main character is bi. She definitely has a thing for both of the sexes, and it doesn't matter if they're like a wolf wilder, which is kind of human but also kind of wolfy, or an ogre female. It does not matter. She doesn't discriminate. And I will tell you, like, those kind of scenes do kind of not necessarily fade to black, but she's like, yeah, a brief intermission while I go get my rocks off kind of thing. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it immensely, and I'm going to give it 4 stars. And I will definitely be continuing the series. And I think I actually might be able to get Xander to read this book as well, because I think he would enjoy it. So it is Wednesday, September 18th, and I've completed one more book. I finished We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. I'm going to give this a 3.75. It was really quite a sad book. And our main character, he's dealing with a lot. His boyfriend that he was very much in love with committed suicide, and he's still grieving that. And he's gotten into a not good relationship with somebody else. He's bullied in school. He's dealing with a lot of things. And he also believes, and we don't know if this is actually happening or if it's just in his head, but he believes that he is being abducted by aliens, and these aliens, they give him a specific date that the world is going to end, and they give him a button to push. Well, the button's on the ship, and if he pushes this button, he can save the world. If he doesn't push the button, then the world will end on this date. And he's really, in the beginning, he's really taken into consideration, should I save the world, or should I let it just go? And through his struggles, he's having a hard time with wanting to save the world, because there's just nothing good coming his way, and it's really, really very, very sad. But yes, I'm going to give this one a 3.75. So it is Monday, September 23rd, and I have completed 2 more books. So I think it was on the 19th, I finished The Obsidian Tower by Melissa Caruso. This was a reread for me. I enjoyed it so much, and I enjoyed the author chat with Melissa, which I will link up here if you want to go and check out. So, okay, in this book, our main character, Rixander, she is a mage who, she believes her magic is broken, or she's cursed, or something like that, and she is not able to touch anyone without killing them, or touch any living anything without draining the life out of it. And she is tasked as the warden for Gloamingard Castle, which is where this ancient door is kept, and she's supposed to guard it and make sure nobody ever goes through there. It's been closed for 4,000 years, and if somebody goes in there, bad things are going to happen. So of course, that's exactly what happens. It gets opened and bad things happen, and she is trying to fix it. And it's such a fun read, and I'm giving this 4 stars. After that, I picked up When in Rome by Sarah Adams. This is such a cute, grumpy sunshine romance. So our main character, Amelia, she is a pop sensation pretty much, and I kind of envisioned her like Taylor Swift but looked like Megan Fox because of the hair color and stuff. But she is exhausted and she needs a break before she goes on this 9-month tour, and whenever she's struggling with anything, she turns to Audrey Hepburn movies. And so she randomly picks one night, and it's Roman Holiday. And so she decides she's going on a Roman holiday right then and there. And though Rome, Italy is too far to go right then, so she goes to Rome, Kentucky instead. And her car breaks down like as she enters Rome, and it just so happens that she ends up in Noah's yard. And Noah is the local grumpy pie shop owner, and super cute and an absolute marshmallow, and we love him. And he's had things in the past that make him not want to be involved with anybody, has trust issues, all of that, and they can't help it, but they have instant chemistry with each other, but they're fighting it the whole time. And this was so fun. If you like small town vibes and like really cute banter, you'll like this. I gave this 5 stars. Also, my cheeks hurt while I was listening to this driving around because I was grinning so much. And yeah, it's fantastic. So it is Tuesday, October 1st, so September is over, and in September I read 3 more books. So the first one is Scenes of the Crime by Jilly Gagnon. This follows 5 women. They went to, or when they were in college, they went to this winery over spring break. It was one of the girls, their grandparents owned this winery. And during that time, one of the girls went missing and was assumed dead, and there was no body ever found. The police deemed an accident, and one of our main characters, she goes into this coffee shop and then sees who looks like the woman that went missing, and is inspired, like she's like, no, it can't be possible, but she's inspired to write this screenplay for like telling Vanessa's story, telling what happened. And she believes that she personally was responsible for Vanessa's death, but apparently so do all the other girls. And she gets them all to come back together. You want to like have some closure or whatever, but there's definitely more going on. This to me was like an older version of Pretty Little Liars. Though I honestly, I can say I never read the Pretty Little Liars books. I did watch the show, and I didn't even finish the show, but Pretty Little Liars is better than this. This is okay. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't fantastic either. Sorry for all the chomping. Einstein's got a bone right here. Next up, I read Inkheart by Cornelia Funke. And I think that's how you say it. This was very cute and fun and adventurous and bookish. Our main character, Maggie, her father, he's like a bookbinder or a book doctor. He fixes books that are damaged, and she loves their cozy little life, and their world's pretty much just surrounded by books. And then one day this guy shows up with a weird name, and what is his name? Anyway, he shows up and warns them that Capricorn knows where they are and he's coming for them. And so they leave, and turns out that Maggie's father is able to bring things from storybooks, so he can read them into our world. Though when something from our world, like when he reads something from the book and it comes into our world, something from our world leaves and goes into the book. And it's usually something that's, pretty close by. And the day that it happened, that he read these characters out of this book called Inkheart, his wife, Maggie's mother, went into the book. And he tried for a long time to read her out and find a way to get her back, and get these other characters back in their book. But when the mailman was there just dropping off mail, he ended up accidentally getting read into a story. That was the point that Maggie's father was like, I'm never going to do this again. I don't want to put any others at risk or in danger. So I'm just not. But Capricorn, one of the villain in the story that he read out, he is trying to accumulate all of the books to get rid of them because he doesn't want to ever get sent back to his story. And this is really good. I definitely want to continue, and I give this 4 stars. Next, I read The Star-Touched Queen by Roshani Chokshi. I thought this was a reread for me. I thought I had read this like years ago. I was thinking of a completely different book. I have not ever read this before. This follows Maya, and Maya is cursed with a bad horoscope. So like in her time, everybody's given like a little horoscope about their life, and hers, I wonder if it says it in here. With a horoscope that promises a marriage of death and destruction, she has earned only the scorn and fear of her father's kingdom. So everybody like essentially blames her for everything. And anytime anybody gets sick or the mother miscarries or whatever, they always blame Maya. And she's just good. But at 17, she believes she's going to be living this life of matronly, scholar. And she is very happy with that. And she wants to live that way. But then a war is happening, and she is the last unbetrothed daughter. And so they're like, okay, you're going to have to marry one of these in order to help the balance of this war and, make allies or whatever. And she's really not excited about this. She hates the idea. She doesn't want to do this. But she'll do what, is asked of her. And so she's kind of mentally preparing for this when her father's like, yeah, if you pick somebody, it's going to upset somebody else. So instead, can you just take this poison and die? And she's like, what, for real? And he's like, yeah, sorry. And when they're at this ceremony where all of the potential suitors are announced and everything, and then she's supposed to go, they're to leave the room, and then she's to think about who she wants and make her selection. And so they all leave the room, and that's the time when she's supposed to be taking this poison. And as she's about to take it, it's knocked from her hand, and she's saved. And it's one of her suitors, and he's like, hey, bad things are about to happen. There's a lot going on, and I want to get you out of here. And craziness just ensues from there. I really enjoyed this, and I'm giving this 4 stars as well. And those are all, however many books, I don't know. I'd have to go back and count. But I'll put the number up here when I'm editing. But those are all the books that I read in the month of September. Have you guys read any of them? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!